Welcome to Robotics and Automation News webinars, where you can be part of a global event without leaving your home or office. Attend our live webinars and communicate directly with influential professionals in your industry.
Hello, my name is Abdul Montakim. I'm editor of Robotics and Automation News.com. In this interview, I speak to Andrew Smith, CEO of Outrider, one of the most innovative companies in the field of automation. Outrider has developed a robotic system for managing containers in a yard, which Andrew will explain in the interview. He also gives his views on the broader subject of logistics automation beyond the yard on public roads.
My name's Andrew Smith. I'm the CEO and founder of Outrider, which is focused on distribution yard automation.
Right, and what kind of activities are you engaged in terms of business activities? What kind of technologies do you offer and what kind of clients do you have? Which sectors?
We are a software and robotics company focused on yard operations and the automation of all activities of moving trailers and containers around yards. We work with Fortune 500 enterprises who have shipping and logistics as a major part of their business.
Right, and this is a very new area of automation, if you like. I know that they have had gantry cranes for a long time, those giant cranes. I don't know if they're fully automated. Certainly, they're automated to some extent. Maybe somebody directly controls them for each individual maneuver. You can maybe elaborate on that. But what level of automation exists in yards, and what do you mean by yards? Is it shipping yards? On the water, as it were, on the edge of the water, or is it? Yeah. What does yard mean?
Sure. So maybe just looking at the US market to start, there's over 10 billion tons of freight moved on an annual basis by trucks. And the majority of that at one point or another passes through a distribution yard. So the distribution yards we're focused on could be the port terminals or intermodal rail locations. But a key focus for us has been the warehouses or production facilities, of which there are thousands, where trailers get dropped off on a daily basis. The contents of those trailers get resorted, and then those trailers would go out to store locations or other distribution hubs. So these are your classic distribution centers that you would see for companies in the consumer packaged goods space, manufacturing, package delivery, et cetera. In these distribution yards, they've essentially operated as they have for the last several decades, where over-the-road trucks drop off trailers, and then you have yard trucks, specialized vehicles to shuffle those trailers around large parking lots and to and from loading bays. These areas have traditionally been very inefficient, unsafe, and congested, and the autonomous systems we are deploying take these distribution yards and turn them into a fully electrified and autonomous system operated by our customers.
Sorry, I played the video and I thought I could mute it. I thought there'd be a mute button, but yeah, there wasn't. I couldn't find it, so sorry if that disturbed you a bit. But it's a really nice website that Outrider has got. How long has the company been in existence? As far as I know, it's quite a new company.
So Outrider was founded in 2017, but it wasn't until February of this year, 2020, that the company emerged from stealth mode. We were founded based on my past experience in the trucking and logistics and robotics areas, but brought together a very unique team that understood that yard operations was a perfect near-term application for autonomous vehicle technology if you understood that what happens in a yard is more than just driving a vehicle around. yards are a really unique place for autonomous vehicles because not only are you pulling trailers around a congested yard environment, but you also have to, you can't just automate the vehicle, you have to automate a number of other of manual tasks in the yard. And so what our system does is provide our customers with vehicles that can autonomously connect to and from semi-trailer, autonomously back to and pull away from loading docks, and can do all of this via a very simple web or cloud-based user interface.
And have you raised money through those Series A, Series B type of, I don't know, funding rounds, I think they're called?
Yes, Outrider has been backed by top-tier investors from the beginning. The company has raised $53 million to date to fund our technology development and deployment. The company currently is working with 5 different Fortune 200 companies in pilot deployments of our autonomous systems.
And going back to the technology itself, I just want to be clear that I understand what it is that you offer. So you actually offer an actual vehicle, this truck I can see in the background. Is that something that you built or modified from? I mean, is that something you offer, first of all? Is that part of the package?
What Outrider does, we offer an integrated system to our end customers. What we do is we take a third-party electric vehicle platform and layer on top of it an autonomy kit, a suite of sensors, compute hardware, actuation, and robotics that turn that OEM base vehicle into a autonomous vehicle. We complement that autonomous vehicle then with 2 other pillars of our technology. One is some basic site infrastructure that allows customers to scale this across multiple distribution centers quickly, and then connect everything together with cloud-based management software that would allow you, for example, to dispatch one of these autonomous vehicles with a click of a button. We focus on electric vehicle platforms because of its superiority for automation and enhanced overall operating costs for customers due to lower maintenance and lower fuel costs.
And who manufactures the original vehicle that we're looking at now on the screen, for example? And is it the only manufacturer vehicle that you've so far used, or have you used a variety of different electric vehicles so far?
So we have the capability to work with multiple OEM providers. The vehicle in this picture is a company called Orange EV. But our technology it has the ability to layer onto multiple OEM truck platforms. We work with preferred suppliers that have been able to demonstrate a reliable and safety critical electric vehicle platform, and we work with these suppliers to ensure that their base vehicle can be compliant with our systems. Up to this point in time in the electric vehicle industry, these yard trucks are a clear application for electric trucks in the near term. But we believe that the combination of automation and additional work with these players to drive down and scale up the market penetration of these vehicles, that these will quickly become the industry standard to rely on these electric truck platforms.
Now, this electric truck, I can't see the whole picture, but I did on one of the pages, but basically a container's put on the back of it. Is that the way it works? And how are they put on the back? A crane is obviously used to lift the container and place it on its back. Is that how it works?
Actually, no. What these electric yard trucks, they're also called terminal trucks or yard hustlers. These yard trucks actually back into either a semi-trailer or a chassis to connect to it. So again, just to talk through that, a typical over-the-road trailer, which could be a dry van trailer or a refrigerated trailer, will have a kingpin, this little metal post sticking down underneath the trailer. And this, you can see in some of those pictures, the trailers in the background, but this truck will actually back underneath one of those trailers, and based on our autonomous sensor suite, will connect to that trailer fully autonomously. The other thing our vehicle does after it connects to what's called the kingpin, which is the little metal post, it will use a proprietary robotic arm system that connects to it's a pressurized air line of the trailer that releases the emergency brakes of the trailer and allows it to be pulled. So everything on that vehicle allows us to autonomously connect to a trailer. In the case of containers, like you'd see on rail cars or in shipping ports, those containers would be lifted by cranes onto these chassis, and our trucks would autonomously connect to those chassis, much like they connect to a trailer.
Right. I thought I saw a robotic arm in one of the pictures that I was browsing when I was browsing these pages. The
Yeah,
robotic arm, could you tell me a bit more about that? Is it, what company supplies it? Fanuc is one company. There's loads of other companies, but is it a very large robotic arm, or is it one of the smaller ones? What type of? Can you tell me a bit more about that, please?
sure. So early on in the development of the Outrider system, as I mentioned before, we realized that automating a truck alone wasn't enough. We had to automate an entire system and replace all the manual tasks that people do in the yard. So on a daily basis, millions and millions of times a day across the globe, when a truck backs under a trailer, the driver actually gets out of the vehicle to connect a pressurized air line to the front of a trailer or chassis to release the brakes on the parking brakes on that trailer. Um, what we realized is it didn't do much good to have an autonomous truck connect to a trailer and then try to drag the trailer around with the brakes on. So we needed a robotic mechanism to connect this airline to the trailer. And so we took we leveraged perception and manipulation expertise on the Outrider team to mount a robotic arm to the autonomous vehicle. And if you go to the homepage of our website, there's a video that plays, and you'll be able to see uh, in that cycling video feed, you'll be able to see that robotic arm, the blue arm on the back of the truck there, connecting to the airlines on the front of the trailers.
So we saw the robot there, and I think it was a Yaskawa robotic arm.
That's
So that was the
correct.
company that originally makes the robotic arm. You've obviously modified it and put it onto the back of these. Is it on the back of the vehicle, or is it a separate sort of mobile unit that goes and does the job?
No,
Or
it's connected as part of the autonomous vehicle.
oh yeah, I can see it there. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's obviously a very sophisticated system, and there's probably when you started developing this system, there wasn't anybody else you could maybe learn lessons from, or maybe take a few parts and components to build on, or anything like that. I don't know if I'm correct in that thinking. What's been what's the development process been like for you, the hardware part of it especially?
Absolutely. So you're absolutely right. For the last several decades, yards have been operated much in the same way. And in fact, there's been billions of dollars invested into automating the activities inside the warehouse, but outside that warehouse door, the yard transportation and logistics has been much the same. So we saw what we were doing as clearly being the next step in automation for all the large companies that were focused on automating what was happening inside the warehouse. When we began in the space a little over 2 years ago, we wanted to not reinvent the wheel, but ensure that we could provide the integrated system to provide true yard autonomy. And so we worked with third-party vehicle suppliers, robotic arm suppliers, et cetera, and then have focused on the proprietary software and very unique software for this specific operating environment. So what we're doing with our autonomous vehicles is very different than what you think about maybe for over-the-road transportation. Over-the-road transportation is trying to figure out, or over-the-road autonomy, I should say, is focused on how to move down a straight highway with very little variability at a high speed. We're working at low speeds, but with a lot of complexity and a lot of specialized software dealing with autonomous articulated backup, autonomously connecting to the trailers, et cetera. But from a development process, as you ask about, our rapidly or our large and rapidly growing engineering team comes from several critical domains that without one of which you really can't bring together this system. So our core team comes from over a decade leading heavy vehicle automation programs, mostly for the Department of Defense, but also for mining and other commercial vehicle applications. We combined that with robotic manipulation expertise that had been involved with a lot of different sorting or exoskeleton type technologies. And then we combined that with deep experience in logistics and transportation space, such that what we do in the yard can be integrated with the over-the-road transportation management as well as the warehouse management systems of our customers.
Yeah, I probably, because I don't know enough about engineering and this kind of developmental challenge. I always assume that the hardware part is the more complex and difficult part. And it probably, obviously it's not easy, but I forget that there's more than one person has said to me that a lot of things these days, when you're developing systems like this, you might only see the hardware, but a lot of the development work, more than 50%, is actually software related. So, you know, it's whether you're talking about cars or robots or whatever, it is, a lot of it is about software development. Tell us a bit about the software, maybe challenges you found or some of the milestones you experienced in the development of the software to control all this.
Absolutely. So ensuring that you have a reliable hardware platform is absolutely critical. So we work closely with our vendors to ensure that these systems can work not only over multiple years, but over multiple years in very harsh operating environments. So having that platform of hardware is critical. And likewise, because electric vehicle systems are so superior for automation, working closely with electric vehicle technology providers specifically. But the greatest challenges for a fully autonomous yard is absolutely the brain of the operation or the software, such that these vehicles can make and adjust decisions on a regular basis. So our system includes the cloud-based interface, allowing not only operators on the ground at the site to control the system, but allow our remote support team to have visibility on the system. It involves mission planning. So that would be optimization of how assets are used in the yard and how trailers are moved around the yard. And then the autonomy itself, which is the vehicle's ability to sense its environment and connect to and from these trailers, as well as move them in very complex articulated movements in the yard environment. So yes, when you have a human operating a piece of hardware, the hardware becomes the engineering focus. When you have software operating the hardware, software becomes the principal focus to ensure these systems work in the real world.
Okay. Well, that's, I think, quite a bit about the technology itself. I'll try and think of a couple of questions about the business side of it. You said that you've raised a good amount of money. Well, do you have any projections about what kind of growth or customers, in terms of how you're going to do profitability or turnover wise? Is there anything you can share in terms of numbers or at least broad projections?
Sure. So there are over 50,000 of these yard vehicles operating in the US market alone. The customers with which we are currently engaged represent thousands of those vehicles. And so we're very focused with those customers in scaling our system into to, into their networks of distribution centers. At this point in time, as we mentioned, there are 5 Fortune 200 companies that we are working with to deploy these systems in limited applications with the goal of scaling across their distribution networks. Um, from a
Sorry,
business
Andrew,
standpoint,
can sorry to interrupt, but when you say 50,000 of these vehicles, are you talking 50,000 of these kind of vehicles that are not autonomized or have your technology, or are you saying that you've got 50,000
that that
vehicles out there that you yourself have supplied after automating them, after making them
you know,
auto?
to clarify, there are 50,000 of these yard vehicles, essentially specialized trucks that all they do is they are used by logistics dependent customers
All
to
right, okay.
shuttle trailers or chassis with containers on them around yard environments. So that is the current installed number of these vehicles. That is the market that our system would be addressing. We
They're all
have
manually operated at the moment, aren't they? They're all driven by a human, yes.
So typically, with these vehicles, we'll have 4 shifts of workers operating them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to operate these distribution yard facilities. And they will, the majority of the installed base is diesel. So there's around 3.8 million tons of carbon unnecessarily emitted by a existing fleet of diesel trucks out there. They're even without automation, electric vehicles are starting to replace the installed base of diesels. But we feel, or we're completely convinced that when you combine automation on top of the electric vehicle platforms, that there'll be a rapid transition both to automation and electrification.
It's a brilliant idea. Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm sure you've done some calculations, but it's fairly easy to see how much money that can be saved and how much cleaner the yard and the vehicles can be if they're converted. And what out of the 50,000, what are you projecting in terms of how many you'll be able to convert and make your customers in the say in the next year or two?
Sure. So, of the 50,000 vehicles in the market, we estimate over 30,000 of those are very high utilization vehicles that are perfect for autonomy. But over the next several years, our objective is to have thousands of vehicles operating on our autonomy platform.
And how many have you got in operation at the moment, installed and operating according to your system at the moment?
Uh, Currently, we have pilot programs with 5 Fortune 200 companies, with each
Okay.
of those companies having 1 to 2 vehicles in their operations.
Right. Okay. And so they're pilots. Is there a point at which you're going to launch commercially, or have you already launched commercially and are now ready for, post-pilot proper operation?
Yes, so we are in the process of moving from pilot programs to scaled operations with these customers. So throughout in 2020, we continue pilot operations. 2021, we'll be scaling with multiple vehicles at multiple sites with our early priority customers.
So are there other competitors? Are there other people supplying this type of system that you're going to have to compete with over the next year or two? I don't know much about the market. I don't know if any other companies are doing this.
Yeah, currently there are no other companies providing this integrated solution. We're sure that what we're doing is going to stimulate competition. There are lots of companies in the automation space which realize that this is a interesting opportunity. There are lots of companies that have provided various software applications to help with yard management activities. But at this point in time, Outrider is the sole company we know of that was founded and continues to focus on the automation of yards with an integrated system.
Right, and finally, I'll ask you about the pilot program with respect to regulations. Any regulations that require you to go through a series of pilots or a certain amount of time testing and things like that, that maybe, I don't know, guide your development? Is there anything like that, or is it all self-imposed pilots and timetables?
So, given that these yards are private property operations, there is not over-the-road trucking regulations that are applicable to these systems. Safety is something that's embedded in the culture of our organization and has been absolutely critical from the founding of our company, because if you don't have a safe system, it certainly will not become an industry standard. And so we work with customers or we work with our design team on functional safety standards, and we work with our customers to only deploy these systems after a agreed upon safety and operation plan is in place. But because these are private property applications, much like automation taking place inside a warehouse, it's a lot simpler path to be able to scale these systems than what you might think about for over-the-road automation.
Yeah, so because it's in a private yard, it would be covered by current regulations that might be set out by OSHA, I think the
Yeah, there's
organization
going
is.
to be OSHA standards in a yard, correct? Which
Yeah.
are really focused on uh, uh, people safety migrating around the yard. With these autonomous systems, you have the added benefit that you start not having people in the yard at all around these 80,000-pound tractor trailer combinations.
Very interesting. I think the next step obviously would be to go beyond the yard. Have you got any ideas about when that might happen in terms of for your company or in general? I don't know if you've got plans for things like that. I mean, as just to explain my question to the audience, if I haven't said it properly, but you're currently operating these vehicles within the customer's space, so there's no need to go into the public roads or anything like that. But obviously the next step would be being able to go from one facility to another through your public road or system, and that would require, negotiating regulations and applying probably to completely new regulations that they haven't even developed yet. How do you see that developing, that side of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Outrider is extremely focused at this point in time in delivering dramatic improvements in efficiency, safety, and sustainability to our customers through yard automation, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry by itself. However, everything that we are building and our team's capabilities are very much exactly aligned with the next opportunity of over-the-road automation. And so whether through our own technology or with partnerships with our customers, our model will be to obviously evolve the capabilities of the automation technology and the safety case of the automation technology to do more and more things outside of the private property operations of the yard. And certainly that's an area that our team has lots of experience. But there are also other customers working in that space. And so there's ways to partner so that at the end of the day, the most important thing is that these customers looking to enhance the efficiency of their supply chain can link over the road autonomous movements with drop off points where the autonomous yard systems then take over. But there's a lot of safety challenges still to overcome in over the road automation when you're dealing with so many different edge cases. And a lot of those challenges are things that can be controlled in a yard environment, which is why we'll be deploying thousands of vehicles in those applications as further development take place with the over-the-road automation.
Yeah, it's very interesting to look at this whole area and the over-the-road automation, driverless trucks that I've seen stories about. They intrigue me a lot because of those regulations that have to negotiate. Obviously, I think technologists like yourself, if you don't mind me calling you a technologist, people who develop technology, they're fairly confident that the trucks are capable of the journeys. But it's a question of whether local authorities, maybe even national authorities, would allow such movements of driverless vehicles. I don't know what timetable do you put on it? Some people say it will never happen, but I think they're a little bit sort of, I think that's unrealistic. To me, it's inevitable. It's just a matter of time before driverless trucks are moving from yard to yard, for example. I've seen Daimler show trucks that are driverless, test them. Probably, I'm sure in agreement with local authorities. Volvo probably done the same, and there's probably more than a few more companies as well. But I don't know what the timetable. I couldn't really guess what kind of timetable we're looking at before driverless trucks are given permission to actually do that kind of thing for real. What do you think?
Yeah, so there's no question there's significant investment and a lot of advancements taking place in this place. And so what we'll see is in very specific limited use applications, you'll start to see the appropriate permitting and quantity of testing to see more public road activity. So there's pretty impressive demonstrations and limited use cases taking place right now. But for any sort of widespread use, that will be several years out. So yes, obviously being close to the technology, there's no doubt that there will be more and more over the road activity, but it will come slowly and it will come in very specific use cases to start. What's really interesting is the different ways that companies are approaching these challenges, and certainly what we've chosen because there are a number of companies working on some of the over the road perception complexities. What we've really focused on is this totally different problem set, equally challenging problem set, I'll say, which is dealing with some of these more complex movements in a safe environment within these yards. So very different tasks, but interesting innovation and certainly interesting progress happening in both areas.
Okay, just one last question. I suppose I kind of have to ask a bit about coronavirus. Given the pandemic and the lockdowns and the disruption to the supply chain and things like that, I'm sure you've got a perspective on how this kind of technology that Outrider is offering, and autonomous technology in logistics in general, would be able to avoid some of the disruption that has been caused by coronavirus. Hopefully, things like that will, just a one-off thing. But how do you think Do you think the pandemic has accelerated innovation and got people to accept and adopt autonomous technology more than they did before?
So, so first of all, the coronavirus pandemic has been a major travesty, and it's terrible how all the nature of the impacts that have taken place. But certainly with regard to automation and supply chain logistics, coronavirus has only highlighted the importance of resiliency in the supply chain. So again, what our system offers, enhanced efficiency, sustainability, and safety, that is all critical when you've got either tremendous drops in demand for certain products or in the case of many products like toilet paper, you've got surges in demand as people were stocking up in the early days. And those changes in demand create a lot of hassle for our customers, the supply chain managers. And so automation has come to the forefront. So certainly certainly automation has gotten more, has been more of a focus based on coronavirus. The other thing that's sort of relevant to that is we obviously saw safety becoming on the forefront, and having less people touching things, interacting with things, has become important. And just that focus on safety overall and sustainability has been highlighted. So certainly the other thing we've seen is that our company's focus on electric vehicle technology has also been well received as people think about crises and global impact. Thinking about how to get carbon out of the supply chain has equally been sort of a secondary effect of people thinking on a more global scale after the coronavirus.
Okay, Andrew, thank you very much for your time and your great insights and very interesting company. Is there anything else you'd like to say that I didn't ask about? Please feel free.
I think we did a pretty good job covering key points here. The we feel that very clearly that the future is a autonomous electric future, and we're proud to be bringing near-term solutions into the market at this point. So I hope this has been helpful to you and your audience, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. It's great to have you on our website. I'm looking forward to this. I've heard about Outrider a lot, and we're really glad to have connected and done this interview.
Great.
Good luck to you for the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Send us an email at sales@roboticsandautomationnews.com to register for one of our many upcoming webinars. And if you'd like us to host your webinar, we have a range of options, including long-term lead generation packages and marketing campaigns. We look forward to hearing from you soon.